these guys.
How about Duncan Robinson? Drained 9 three-pointers in the Heat's win over the Magic. Seth, what's the Heat's ceiling in your mind?
They're the second best team in the East, I think, and they could potentially come out of the East. But this dude started in Division III.
Let's go.
Now he's one of the best shooters in the whole NBA. You get him a step-in three, that dude is knocking it down 9 threes. The Heat, second best team in the East.
There we go. Hey, Giannis and the Bucks, as RJ shakes his head a little bit about that comment. We'll get to that. They're back on track after their loss to those Heat. RJ, will Milwaukee get 70 wins?
No, I don't think they're going to get 70 wins. I think they have such a lead. And to me, if you're not going to get the record, 70 wins is great. I think you need to start resting Giannis, not from the standpoint of not, he's had a lot of fourth quarters off, but I think you need to give him some nights where you're just like, hey, we've clinched the best record in the NBA. You can have half a night here.
Yeah, Giannis consistently plays so hard, too. Yes. He's putting a lot out there. The Bucks will look to keep marching on as they travel to Staples Center on Friday for a date with the Lakers. Speaking of those Lakers, you see it here. They have a gauntlet of a schedule in the near future. In addition to Milwaukee, they'll see the Clippers, the Rockets, the Nuggets, just to name a few. So it's a big stretch coming up for them, Seth. And it's going to be a lot of these teams that are in the postseason, RJ, as you just said. So what do you need to see from the Bucks against the Lakers and the Lakers against the Bucks in this game on Friday?
This is why you got Anthony Davis. This is like in the NBA, you look at your schedule in segments. All right, this is a segment I'm sure has been circled on the Lakers schedule saying this is a chance for us to make a statement. For us to make a statement, Anthony Davis has got to be a dominant player. He's got to actually go head to head with Giannis and meet him head on. He's got to be a guy that makes a difference, not a compliment, not Robin to Batman and LeBron James, but the focal point. That's why he came to LA to win a championship. This is his opportunity to send a statement that we're the best team in the NBA.
RJ, in these tough games for these teams against teams that they're going to see in the postseason, is there something extra to prove even in the regular season? Because you almost wanted to get in their heads a little bit when they see them down the road?
Yeah, and we've talked about this. Let's talk about like some postseason awards, like after season awards. If you want the Defensive Player of the Year, if you want the MVP, this is the stretch right here where Bron can make a claim for MVP. Hey, you want defensive MVP? If you're Anthony Davis, this is a stretch right here where if you're one of the most dominant guys on the floor in the defensive end, guarding Giannis, helping to shut down guys from the Clippers, all of a sudden that conversation starts to creep up on everybody's list. You can start separating yourself.
In this stretch that the Lakers have coming up that is so tough, what do you think their record looks like?
Again, you never know with the Lakers, and I say this, they've had some bad losses to the Clippers. They've had some losses to the Bucks. I just think that for them, they need to focus on themselves and how they want to play. Greenberg talked about it. You want Anthony Davis to take that step up. You want him to be aggressive. This is why you brought him in. But ultimately, it's all going to be about how they mesh and how they play against these top teams.
So we just popped the schedule up here. You want to take a stab at what you think the Lakers do against those teams? At least starting off?
I think they go 6-2.
Okay.
I would say 4-2, I should say, out of those 6 games.
4-2. And you saw what they start out with, of course, the Bucks on Friday. You think that's a game that's winnable for them?
I think it's winnable, but I think the Bucks are going to win, in my opinion. I need to see it. I need to see the Lakers play better against the Clippers.
Anthony Davis is going to be dominant in this stretch. You watch.
Right. We are going to continue to talk about this game, and it's going to be on Friday. Tip off your NBA Friday with our next doubleheader on ESPN and the ESPN app. There's Zion and the Pelicans hosting Jimmy Butler and the Heat at 8 Eastern. Then it's the matchup of the best records. We're just
future stars of the NBA going head-to-head last night for the first time. Zion and Luka, you saw it late night on ESPN. Get the basketball guys in here. And they weren't the biggest stars in the house. Pat Mahomes taking in the action courtside. And let's pick it up in the first. And Richard Jefferson, look at Luka from downtown, guarded by Zion.
I talked earlier about how he reminds me more of James Harden than anybody. Probably James Harden a few years ago with those types of step backs.
And meantime, Seth Greenberg, we saw this is the first back-to-back that Zion has ever played, and he looked tired.
He looked tired. They ran a second defender at him, and he could not score over the physicality of the defense.
He's struggling.
He had 9 points, 3 boards, and 1 assist in the first half. But
hilarious.
He would come on in the second half. We're tied at 73. We are tied no more. Look at the power from Zion.
Yeah, when you can take 2 steps, do a spin move, and then just launch yourself from the dots and then dunk it with ease, that's special athleticism.
Mark Cuban says, whoa, what was that? That was my adaptation of what Mark Cuban said. Under a minute to go, Mavs down 1. Luka, where are you going to go for the big bucket? How about Seth Curry knocking down a big three?
Yeah, and it was look, he had the shot, no-look pass to an open three-point shooter. That's what makes him so dangerous.
Here we go, 10 seconds to go in regulation. It's a three-point game. Where do the Pelicans go? They go to Nicolo Melli.
Who? Right from the first time his name's ever been said on this show.
This is his first year in the NBA from the Italian League. He sends this one to overtime. In the OT, Zion checks in. Less than 2 minutes to go, and he's still playing hard.
Yeah, look, he can just explode through everybody, but he didn't come in till 2 minutes ago. He had a career high last night.
He had 21 points last night, but it was Luka who got the best of him, both knocking down shots and distributing for the big fella KP. Luka with a 30-point triple-double in a huge matchup game, and the Mavs in overtime take the win.
Physically, I'm feeling fine right now. I think it was just one of those things where, you know, Drew, Lonzo just kind of came to me and was like, are you ready to play? Because if you saw me in the second quarter, I think, you know, I just kind of turned around and looked at Lonzo like, all right, like, I'm awake now because, you know, they just came to me and said, like, you know, it's time for you to wake up.
I think he's fine. We worry about him too freaking much, okay? He's fine. He's 19 years old. He'll be fine.
Well, he seems in a good mood, and it's easy to understand why, because you lose. They lose on back-to-back nights. They lose a terrible game at home against a bad Minnesota team. They lose this one in overtime. Their playoff chances slipping away, and people are asking about, you know, Zion's minutes.
Yeah, he played the most minutes he's played all season yesterday, but he wasn't productive in those minutes. In fact, his stats were more like fantasy basketball stats. I mean, he scored, he finished around the basket. He didn't have any impact on the game. And he didn't have any impact on the game because he didn't bring energy to the game. I mean, Zion Williamson is an undersized player that has to use his quickness, his athleticism against bigger players. He couldn't finish over the physicality of this Dallas team, and he just didn't seem like he had that pop to his game that he's had earlier.
And what I love about it is that, look, he didn't have a great game, and he was 9 for 18 with 21 points. And he's still only, you know, again, in his first game of back against very good defensive team in Dallas. And so I look at Zion and say, like, hey, there's a lot more ways for him to impact. There's a lot more ways for him to get better. I know he's only 19 his first year, but it's like we look at his numbers and they're historic and we put him in this great class, but he's had 2 double-doubles in his entire career. To me, that's a little disappointing. This man should be able to rebound with the best.
He doesn't rebound. He doesn't rebound on the defensive end. He's got more offensive rebounds than defensive rebounds. He only averages 3 defensive rebounds a game. He's got to be more engaged on that end of the floor. The reason he has these runouts is because he contests the shot. He's kind of like you back in the day. Contest the shot and go.
Okay, quickly. What about Luka? Like, Luka's team won the game. So what do you see from him? Yeah,
he's like Mariano Rivera. He was the closer at the end of that game. He's just bigger, stronger, and more physical than anyone he matches up with. He uses his size, his strength, and he gets the ball anytime, anywhere he wants it. But he does it in slow motion. Like, to me, the physicality of his game in relation to his position is ridiculous.
And again, we're going to talk about Luka. Had 17 That's how you impact the game. Game-winning assists, all of these extra plays and moves. You can't have that type of athleticism that Zion has and gives me 2 double-doubles when Luka can go out there and give you a triple-double.
Yeah, Zion is the star, but Luka was the story of the night. We are just getting started on Get Up This Week. Pleasure, an extraordinary collection of insight and analysis this morning as we are less than 2 weeks away. These two are already starting.
No.
Like, just avert your eyes from these two over here. It has gotten,
Aren't you following the news, man?
it has gotten childish early. Let's put it
but he's
that
building up an immunity. He's fine.
Roll the video. We are less than 2 weeks away from the start of NFL. A free agency, and the biggest question remains, where will Tom Brady sign? Yesterday, Brady was asked about his future by, of all people, UFC president Dana White, who is a close friend. He called into Dana White's Instagram live stream. Here's what Brady said.
I know it's been a lot of patience for me. And obviously being where I've been for 20 years, it's been an amazing experience. And I don't know what the future holds right now. I'm just trying to be patient through this process, my first time going through it. And in the meantime, I'm going to spend a lot of time with my family over the next 10, 12 days. And we got a little vacation plan, which I'm looking forward to.
So that was fascinating. I can't decide exactly why, but obviously it was. And as we turn to our insider extraordinaire, Dan Graziano, here's where it begins. I give Tom at least credit for not appearing peeved by all of the attention this is receiving. Because if he really didn't want it to get a lot of attention, he wouldn't sit courtside at a college basketball game that's being nationally televised with Jimmy Fallon, and he wouldn't be calling in to Dana White's Instagram Live. So obviously, Tom wants all of this conversation, and he is feeding it. What do we, if anything, take from that?
What we've been saying for a while is that Tom Brady wants to be a free agent and everything that comes with it, which is attention. That's part of it. He wants to be courted. He wants to go through this process. He said in that interview, this is the first time he's gone through it. So I do think he's enjoying this. Where it stands with him and the Patriots is probably, I think, where it stands with him and every other team, waiting to get the process started here